Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is 903 Sports. I am your host, Cameron Brown, joined by the boys, Hunter Shattuck, Mason Cudd, and Jeffrey Yeager this week. Boys football season is unfortunately over, so it is basketball season. We will be talking a lot of hoops today. We'll touch on some college. We'll touch on the All-Star game, and then talk a little bit about the NBA post-All-Star game. But I want to start off talking about the big news in college basketball. Sunday, Michigan, Wisconsin. Big rivalry game, big game as far as NCAA standards, as far as the tournament goes. Michigan really needed that win. Wisconsin blew them out in the second half. And then the melee happened after the game with head coach Juwan Howard and coach Greg Gard for Wisconsin. Juwan Howard, they got in a little scrum. Howard reaches over and pops one of the assistant coaches in the face. Real bad look for him and Michigan. And I'm a big Juwan Howard fan. Hated to see that. I think he's doing a good job at Michigan. They're having a really tough year this year. But I thought he did a really good job last year, and I'm glad they didn't fire him. I don't know what y'all think, but I think the suspension is acceptable. You know, the regular season, if they get to the postseason, which it doesn't look like that they will. He can coach there. I mean, look, you hate to see a leader of men, your head coach, make a move like that. I mean, you got to be more mature than that, Howard. You just got to be more aware. You just got to have some self-control. That can't happen again. And that's probably his last strike. You know, if something like that happens again, he's probably gone. I will say this, though, and then I'll let y'all jump in. I don't think Greg Gard's completely off the hook here. Like, obviously, what started the whole thing was Greg Gard called a timeout with 4 seconds to go in a blowout game because Michigan was pressing. I get it. Michigan probably should have been pressing. And, you know, the timeout's kind of ticky-tack, kind of Bush League too. Howard's obviously mad about that. He is looking to walk right by the Wisconsin coach. And the Wisconsin coach grabs him, not in an aggressive way, but kind of, you know, puts his hands on him and tries to explain a situation. But when you're really, really mad at somebody, whether it's rational or not, the last thing you want is that guy to put his hands on. We've all been there in an argument with your buddy, and you're really mad at him, and he kind of grabs you. That's gonna piss you off. So again, I'm not excusing what Juwan Howard did. But Greg Gard escalated the situation, and Juwan Howard made it 20 times worse. So, Hunter, you're the rational one of the group, so I'll let you jump in on your thoughts on this situation.
First of all, that's a low bar. All right. That's like being the tallest midget.
No kidding.
Being the most rational one of this group. So, man, I don't know. Like you said, I think to understand it, you got to talk about what led to it, which is just ridiculous. It's two guys who made kind of questionable coaching decisions. I mean, Greg Gard had his backups in. Like, the bench was in. For Wisconsin, it was 4 seconds left, whatever it was. It was a 15-point game. Michigan scores. Juwan Howard presses. Michigan presses. I don't know what they were trying to do. Maybe they're hoping to get a steal in another bucket to help their, you know, deficit in the game, to make it look better for the metrics and stuff. I don't know. But obviously, you know, Gard takes offense to that. One of his players loses a shoe, so they call a timeout. To me, that seems pretty reasonable. You know, you got to lose a shoe. You got a couple seconds to get it over half court. Call a timeout. It's fine. Whatever. You know, these guys that are in are going to get to play 5 minutes this season. You don't want them to get a 10-second violation in one of the few minutes they'll be on the court. That's cool. Whatever.
Bad.
Yeah. So calls a timeout. Obviously, Juwan Howard doesn't like that. In my opinion, that should be the end of it. If Howard's mad and I'm Greg Gard, I'm just going to let him blow right by me. That's, you know, that's his prerogative. He's upset. He can throw a little temper tantrum. If you don't like it, in my opinion, get better. Don't go down by 15 points, and that ain't going to be an issue. Yep. But, you know, it happened, and I think they both could have avoided it by having made better decisions. I don't fault either decision on the court. It's Juwan Howard's prerogative to press, and it's Greg Gard's prerogative to call the timeout. It's basketball. But like I said, if you don't like it, play better. If you don't want to be down by 15 points and have the opposing coach call a timeout, don't go down by 15 points, right? And if you don't, I don't know. Anyway, where it got bad was Howard was pissed and tried to storm by him, like you said. Gard grabs him. And again, that still could have been the end of it if Howard hadn't, I mean, who knows what they said to each other, right? I mean, you could tell that they weren't having nice words with each other. And then they, you know, fingers in the chest and everything, and then gets pushed back. Assistant coaches jump in, and then Juwan Howard kind of like punch slaps the assistant. I don't know what you.
Yeah, it wasn't like he reared back and clocked the guy. He kind of like.
Yeah, it wasn't a haymaker, but it wasn't a slap either. It was like an
we'll love to have,
open-handed punch.
yeah, open hand slaps, really what it was. It
Yeah,
wasn't
and
like a
so
Tyson punch.
yeah, and then there were some of those thrown by Musa Diabate
Those were
after
bad.
and the players started to really get into it. But man, I mean, yeah, I think if you have to place the blame percentage wise, I'd go like 75-25 Howard guard, maybe 80-20. But I mean, Howard's the one that threw the slap punch. So he's the one. I mean, he rightfully got suspended more than Greg Gard. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He should be suspended. But my whole thing is the entire situation is completely avoided if Gard just lets him be mad and walk by.
Yeah.
Michigan probably shouldn't have been pressing, and Wisconsin probably shouldn't have called the timeout. But it's in the play of the game. It's like baseball when someone hits a home run up 16-1. Don't let him hit the home run. You're still playing the game. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Whatever happens in that span of the game happens. Like,
yeah. When once that last buzzer goes off, it doesn't matter that they were pressing, and it doesn't matter that they called the timeout. None of that should matter anymore. You shake hands, you move on.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know, the whole like, well, that's Bush League, and everyone getting so offended by, these underlying rules. It's like, it happens more in baseball. You really don't see that much in basketball.
I'll tell you what, I got one quick story.
Oh, man.
So when I was in high school, Brook Hill was really good at football. And who knows if they still are. But when we were at Brook Hill, they were real good at football compared to other TAPS 3A schools. And there was a guy there named Coach Buffton. He was an assistant coach. I don't know if y'all remember Coach Buffton. But he was talking to me one time about how there was a parent of a school that we had just beat like 72-0, which is a pretty bad beat. I mean, that's pretty rough. And a parent calls into TAPS and says, hey, that's not cool. Y'all need to do something about Brook Hill, run the score up on teams. Well, we had our third stringers in the whole second half, and they were still scoring points. And Coach Buffton was talking to me. He said, look, if you don't like it, stop them from getting in the end zone. I'm not going to tell my third string guys to take it easy on you because they never get to play. If you don't like it, stop us. And that's kind of how I think about these things. If you don't like, Juwan Howard's obviously pissed. He's throwing a fit. That's why he's pressing down by 15. If you don't like it, tell your guys to play better, coach them better. It's that simple. I don't have any patience for this throwing a temper tantrum because you're getting beat.
Juwan Howard was upset because they're having a bad season and they got blown out in a must-win game. Tensions were high. And then the whole timeout, which extended the blowout a little bit, made him even more mad. And whether he's rational or whether it's irrational or rational for him to be mad, if you're Greg Gard, just let him be mad. Let him walk by. Don't get in front of an angry person and try to explain your side. Whether you're right or not, that's not what you do. I mean, at the end of the day, adults just need to be adults and just, this whole thing's avoided. So, Cut, I'll let you jump in, see if you have any thoughts on what happened on Sunday.
Yeah, first of all, I'll go completely different direction from both y'all. I think Juwan Howard looked like a complete fool. Now, I think the whole thing stemmed from them getting just whooped the whole game. Like you said, they needed to win that game, conference game, and they just played bad and they got beat. Now, that whole deal at the end of the game, I think that's just silly. Who cares? And yeah, it probably made him mad. But I mean, and I wasn't one of those players or assistant coaches who were standing there hearing what they were saying to each other. Maybe Chris or whatever his name was trying to explain to him why he called that timeout, or if he just kind of mouthed off to him or something, and then that escalated everything. But the big deal to me was, I don't care if they're arguing, but when they got all bunched up right there, Juwan Howard was like 4 people back, and he physically jumped over there and made it a point to hit that guy. I thought that was just a disgrace and bad discipline. I mean, if anyone is not supposed to get in the fight, it's the coaches. They're setting the example for the 15 guys sitting next to him. I thought that was horrible. And I mean, and whatever his name was, shouldn't called that timeout probably. And he probably shouldn't have grabbed him. Like you said, he could have just walked by, whole case dismissed. But I mean, come on, Juwan Howard, that was just ridiculous. And it's a bad look too, real bad.
Do you think he should have been punished more than just the 5 games?
I mean, I thought that was kind of a cop out. I mean, they just said, okay, regular season, and then they go to the, the tournament or whatever.
So what would you do?
Fire him.
No, I wouldn't.
Oh, I thought you were going to have to say, give him the axe.
No. I think, but I mean, definitely this instance that he just did, like that cut his leash way back on future games and arguments, whether it's not even against another team. if he has some instance in the locker room with his players or something, he's on the thin ice there. But I don't know. I think I would have maybe, I don't know, finding doesn't do anything. Those guys have tons of money, especially Juwan playing in the league for years. Money's not a problem. So I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as, suspending the rest of the like college basketball season. But I don't know. I thought that was just kind of let's suspend them because we have to do something.
Well, here's the thought too. Let's say you're a parent and you have a 17-year-old basketball player as a son, and Michigan's recruiting him. And then let's say in the next few months, Juwan Howard comes to your house and sits in your living room and he's trying to say, hey, this is why I think your son needs to come play for me. Surely this incident is going to weigh in your decision, right? Like, you're going to see this man sitting in your living room. You're going to have that picture of him reaching over people and punch slapping this assistant coach from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Like, how much would that affect your decision? And then do you think that's going to affect the recruiting as a whole?
Yeah. Well, I mean, 100. Well, think about when you, and I mean, obviously I wasn't recruited and I haven't been in the room when someone's given the recruiting speech to this young athlete. But, that not only do they talk about how successful they'll be on the field or the court or whatever game they're playing, they're going to tell that parent that, hey, your son's going to be a great young man and get a great education and be great, learn things off the court just as much as on the court. And then after this instance, if you're sitting down as a parent listening to him say that, and you're like, dude, what were you doing? You weren't teaching nothing good, So, I think that might, definitely contradict each other. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, but Michigan's still a big program, and whoever's coaching there, they'll be fine with recruits. But yeah, I thought the whole thing with Juwan Howard, I thought it was a very bad lack of discipline, and the emotions definitely got a hold of both of them. And I hate that the kids got involved like that. Like y'all were saying, that player was throwing UFC punches. I mean, that was just bad. That was,
looked like Drago from Rocky IV. I mean, he had him going.
Yeah, I mean, it was just not a good look.
I got two more quick thoughts on it. One, that the suspension tells me that Michigan still values Juwan a lot. Mm-hmm. They easily could have let him go because that's his second strike. He had the whole deal with Mark Turgeon last year. We kind of charged after him.
I forgot.
It's kind of one of those things where people were going to hold him back and nothing was really going to happen. But, that wasn't the best look either. Now you had this come out. Something like that happens again, he's probably definitely gone. But the regular season, just whatever it is, 4 games, kind of tells me Michigan, they still really value Juwan Howard. They easily could have fired him with cause after that deal. And I also think you're talking about from the parents' perspective, from the players' perspective, they're probably like, yeah, that's my guy. That's my coach. Like, we're going to war with that guy any day of the week. That's true. That's not really what you want. But, I mean, if I'm a player on that team, I'm like, hell yeah, that's my coach. Screw Wisconsin. That's what I'm thinking. So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Diabate definitely thought so.
Exactly.
It depends on what you want in a coach, but yeah.
That's true. I mean, if you're a parent, you're probably pretty upset. If you're a player, you're like, that's my guy. We're going to war.
Yeah, we're going to war.
Exactly. So I mean, it was an interesting situation. I caught the very end of it right when Juwan was running back to clock that assistant coach in the scrum. So
I will give credit to, like, the thing is, it's one of those things where it's like you never want to get into a fight, but you want to know you've got a guy that's ready for it if it comes, type of thing. Like, Juwan Howard obviously has the rep where I don't think he's looking to pick any battles, but if it needs to happen, that's something I appreciated about our high school golf coach. Tim was the nicest guy on the earth, but like, if he needed to pick you up by the love handles and throw you 7 feet, he was ready to do it. So Tim Moore had your back, dude.
Tim Moore's a legend. But yeah, and Juwan's a fiery kind of coach too. So again, there's a line there. You don't want to cross that line, but he's a fiery guy. And so while we're talking about Michigan, Hunter, I want to get you in on one more thought on them. We'll move on, talk a little about some other teams in college hoops. But Michigan's had a really bad year. They're coming off an Elite Eight performance last year. They got their All-American Hunter Dickinson back, and they got a couple of their guards back from last year. Michigan's been a disaster. If they don't beat Rutgers tonight, they're out of the tournament unless they win the Big Ten championship. So what is the deal with Michigan, and kind of where do they go from here? Like, is it over for them this season?
I don't know what's going on, honestly. And what doesn't make sense is, like you said, they they brought back a lot of their players. Because I'm going to have to go back in time here a bit. At the beginning of last year, I don't think Michigan was necessarily on the radar, right? They were they kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere because they're still Michigan, but they overachieved a little bit compared to predictions, right? So maybe they've just regressed this year to kind of who we thought they were last year, and last year was the fluke because they do have largely the same team. But then they added Musa Diabate, the freshman, who's honestly, I think he's a really good player. He's a real good compliment to Hunter Dickinson. I don't know, because you watch him play. There was the Purdue game where they won by like 26 at home, and the team that played Purdue that night could beat any team in the country. Yeah. So they've got the talent, and obviously they've got it. They're there, but then they'll go. I don't know. They just kind of fumble it around, and I don't know how they do it, but they just lose games here, lose games there, and they just don't really come through. I wish I had a better answer, but I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Their guard play has not been very good this year. There's too much reliance on Hunter Dickinson, and they haven't had a guy step up in their guard room. Eli Brooks had a tough year too.
Well, it's kind of similar to the Illinois problem. Yeah. Illinois has Kofi Coburn, who's as dominant as any one player in the country. But the problem with having just a dominant big man is you have to have good guards to be able to get him the ball, right? If you don't have guards that can penetrate and get the ball to the big man, having a good big man like Kofi and Dickinson doesn't really do anything for you. So maybe that's it. But last year, Eli Brooks was such a good guard. He had such a good season last year, and just kind of hasn't been there this year. So maybe that's what the blame is. I'm not sure.
I'll say this, and Bama's going through the exact same thing. You put a lot of expectations on a bunch of 18 and 19-year-old kids that are not at a program that, Michigan's a good program, but they're not Duke. The expectations aren't there every single year. Alabama, the expectations aren't there every single year. You put super high expectations on them, it's hard to live up to that. That's a lot of pressure for some 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old kids. And that could be what Michigan's going through. Yeah. It could be what Bama's going through. Memphis, there's a handful of teams that have really underachieved this year that are still dangerous. If Michigan gets in the tournament, nobody's going to want to play Michigan in the first round.
Like I said, the way they played against Purdue the other day, that could beat any team in the country.
Yep, any time. So, Cud, I want to get in a little bubble talk because it's pretty hectic. I'll let you jump in on any Alabama talk if you got any pinpoints on, because I just name drop them, so I'll let you. I have words for him on Twitter on Saturday, and your buddies did not appreciate that.
Yeah, it's not even close, Cameron. Yeah. If anybody wants to go look back on Twitter, Cameron gets proved wrong once again.
I don't know if he was wrong. He just kind of got showed up. I think he's right, but
there's receipts on the internet.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But like I said, I think it was last week or the week before when Hunter was asking me about Alabama, is that, we've definitely been up and down, but the main thing I take away from the season is we've had the toughest strength of schedule in the entire country. And even though we've flopped against teams that we should beat handily, especially when we've beaten teams that we, going into shouldn't have won, is having that experience and that just that tough environment game to where you're playing the top teams in the country, so, like we were talking about Gonzaga, they hadn't played anybody. So, they're coasting in. Granted, they're an awesome team, but, going into the tournament, I'm happy that we're battle tested, and have that under our belt going into it, because from the first round to the very last round, you can get beat by anybody. It's anybody's night. So, and that last night we played Vanderbilt, and that was one of the ugliest games I've ever seen.
It was not pretty.
There was like a combined 65 free throws and like 25 turnovers. It was just a disaster, but we won, thank God. But yeah, so and we needed to win that game too, especially, even though Vanderbilt's Vanderbilt, still a conference game, we need to win that game. But yeah, I'm excited going into the tournament, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we lost first round either, or if we went to the Elite Eight. So I don't know. I really don't know until I'll watch us play in the tournament.
Yeah, Bama could go on a run and beat Gonzaga in the Elite Eight, and they could also get blown out by 20 in the first round by Towson or New Mexico State or somebody.
Yeah.
So I think the deeper Bama makes it into the tournament, the better chance they have. Well, that's a dumb statement. Obviously, the better chance they have of winning a
Yeah.
national championship.
I see where
But
you're going with it.
they're going to be more at home the deeper they make
Yeah.
it into the tournament.
They'll ride
You
the
know,
momentum.
I think they're a good candidate to get out in the first weekend. They could potentially be a really good team that gets beat in the first weekend, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if they made the Elite Eight. And I was thinking about this earlier. Would you consider Alabama to be a really good bad team or a really bad good team?
I'd say we're a pretty good. I mean, I'd say we have all the pieces. Like right now, we have three. We're basically starting three freshmen right now, and our bench is super young. Outside of Jaden Shackelford and Javon Quinterly, everybody else is pretty young.
Well, I guess my question is which games are the outliers? The games where you beat really good teams or the games where you lose to really bad teams? Which one are the outliers?
Like when we lose to Missouri and beat Vanderbilt twice this year by combined 4 points. Those are the games. I mean, beating Houston.
So you think the real Alabama is the team
Never
that showed
great.
up to play against Baylor and
But,
Houston and Gonzaga?
Yeah, I mean, those are great and those are awesome games. But what pisses me off is seeing our capabilities and then lose to Missouri. You know, those teams. You know, and like I think it was 3 or 4 games ago, we beat Mississippi State at home by I think 5 or 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Mississippi State hadn't won, or they recently just got their first road win of the season, and that was against Vanderbilt. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just a roller coaster year because I know we have it in us. That's the most frustrating part, you know, and we do rely on the three big time. So, but if it's falling, we'll beat the Lakers. So, which that might not be saying anything either. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's frustrating because I've seen us play the best we can, and I've also seen us play like we couldn't beat this Zoom call right here. So it's just so up and down, and I hope that we can get in the tournament. And I still love my guy Nate Oates. I think he'll get the point across to them that hey, if we're playing Towson or we're playing New Mexico State, these boys want to win bad, and they will win if you lay down. So, yeah, I'm excited and nervous at the same time because I really want to see us win a couple games, even if, you know, we don't go to the Elite Eight or whatever, you know, string some wins together. I'd like to see that, or get, you know, a couple wins in and play like an actual big game, you know, like another pretty good team and then beat them. And that'd be pretty cool. But I could definitely see us just flopping week 1. So
those bad losses are just ugly. Georgia's 1-13 in the SEC, and that one wins against Bama.
Yeah.
Mm.
And Bama could easily win the SEC tournament. They have all the potential.
Yeah, I'm excited for that tournament, Brown.
Yeah, that's gonna be a really good tournament. So that's a good segue. We'll flip in. I want to talk a little conference talk. So Hunter, we talk about the Big East regularly. The Big East is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, last night, UConn Nova was one of the best games I've seen all year.
Yep.
Providence Nova last week was unbelievable game. Creighton Marquette went back and forth on Sunday. Seton Hall's had some wars this year. I mean, Xavier, not Xavier, but Xavier has had some wars this year. That conference is really good. And Butler at the bottom is scary. They took Providence to the wire on Sunday. DePaul is really your only outlier. It's not very good.
When they took Providence to overtime.
And they took Providence to overtime. That's right. So, I mean, the Big East, they put on a show night in and night out. They're awesome. The ACC, on the other hand, they may get 4 bids in the tournament. When's the last time you saw the ACC get that low of bids? And they're going to get Duke, and then Notre Dame, Miami, North Carolina, Wake Forest, and Virginia are all in the bubble. So, I mean, what is going on in the ACC, Hunter? I'll ask you first. I mean, it's just a down year. You got Florida State's down, Syracuse is down, Louisville's down, Clemson's down. They got a lot of teams that are struggling this year.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird because, you know, obviously you've got the blue bloods across the country, and obviously 2 of those are Duke and Carolina. But I don't, and maybe I'm just misremembering, but I don't really remember a year in the last 8 to 10 years where Duke and Carolina were both really, really good at the same time. They kind of seem to flip flop, and Carolina's lows are lower than Duke has been the last few years. I think Duke missed the tournament last year for the first time in quite a while. But Carolina's been down. Obviously, this is the first year without Roy Williams at North Carolina, so that's got to play a factor. And if I'm a North Carolina fan, I'm a little nervous because you lose Roy Williams, and now you're all of a sudden a bubble team at best. So I'm a little concerned there. But then obviously Virginia's down. Syracuse, which still feels weird talking about them in the ACC, they're not the same team that they used to be. And I mean, here, let me just run down the top few teams in the ACC. You've got Duke, Notre Dame, Miami, North Carolina, Wake Forest, Virginia. I mean, those teams, that's not.
None of those teams are scaring you except Duke in the tournament.
No. And
I really like that Miami team, but they're not scaring you in the tournament. And neither is Notre Dame.
Yeah. No, they're. I mean, they might be. I'm trying to think. What other big Power 5 conference only has one title contender? I think that
the ACC that I can think of. Or the Pac-12's got Arizona.
But I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if UCLA made a run to the Final Four.
Yeah, UCLA can certainly make a run.
Yeah, and so but the Pac-12 is definitely the next weakest conference. But yeah, it's crazy, and I don't quite understand what's going on. But the whole conference is just down, except Duke, obviously.
So let's go to I started on it. We got the Big East and the Big 12. Big 12 is the deepest conference in college basketball because every single team in that conference, except for West Virginia, is really a tournament team, in my opinion. Yeah. Kansas State's racked up some losses, but they can beat anybody on any given night. Oklahoma has probably worked their way out of the tournament. They're just getting beat up in that conference, and they're a solid ball club. So you got the Big 12 that's really deep, and the Big East, and those guys go toe to toe every week. So, Cut, I'll let you touch on what conference are you enjoying this year? You got the Big East, Big 12, and what conferences would be scarier top to bottom in March Madness?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with y'all on the Big East. It's so fun watching them, and honestly, outside of Georgetown,
Georgetown, that's who I was forgetting. They're horrible.
I mean, outside of Georgetown and DePaul, I think is 500. So I mean, they're not like 7 and 18 or something,
Mm-hmm.
But outside of those two teams, from Butler up, I mean, those are good clubs, and they're on any given night, man, those guys can shoot the rock too. So yeah, the Big East is great. The Big 12 is top to bottom, and honestly, West Virginia they're up by 10 right now on the road to Iowa State.
Wow.
So I mean, and that just put in perspective, that is the worst team, So yeah, I mean, those conferences are great. It is shocking that the ACC pretty much took a big step back there, and I'm excited about the SEC. I think there's a lot of good tournament teams in there, and bubble teams there as well. And the Pac-12 is just they're just horrible. I don't even like UCLA. I think they're frauds. They're done. They're horrible.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Cud. UCLA is kind of fraudulent. They're riding a lot of momentum off a really good tournament run last year. Yeah, and they got NBA talent in Juzang, but yeah, I'm not sold on anybody in the Pac-12 outside of Arizona. I think Arizona is really good, but USC and UCLA not scaring anybody, and Oregon's a bubble team.
I mean, I still like USC and UCLA over Notre Dame and Miami if we're comparing ACC to Pac-12.
That I would agree with.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
But I'll take LSU and Arkansas over UCLA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, and that's not even counting Auburn and Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, I was just going like middle of the pack teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Out of the SEC.
And another conference that y'all didn't touch on is the Big Ten. Michigan State has a serious problem.
They're falling apart.
I don't know what they're doing. I think they've lost 5 of their last 6 games. They got blown out by Iowa. And Iowa has been playing better lately, but still, that's not acceptable.
Yeah, Michigan State laid an egg last night.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on there with Tom Izzo. I think they might just be in a flunk. But yeah, I mean, all across the board, outside of the Pac-12, the couple teams there, and the ACC, couple teams there. Everyone else, man, there's great teams all across the board, and I'm pretty excited to see the matchups. Honestly,
conference tournament season is so much fun. It is.
Oh, yeah.
It is around the corner, gentlemen. Big Ten tournament's going to be fun.
Listen to this. So this is Michigan State's last month. So in the last month, they only have wins at home against Michigan, at Maryland, and at home against Indiana. And in that stretch, they lost at Illinois. No shame in that. They lost at Rutgers, at home to Wisconsin, and at Penn State, at home against Illinois, at Iowa. Like you said, they've lost 5 of 6, and there's the mystique around Tom Izzo and Michigan State, and they're the traditionally good program. But man, traditionally good programs don't get worse the closer you get to a tournament. Good teams with good coaches don't get worse as the season goes on. And so it's really strange how they're just kind of falling apart at the seams.
Yeah.
Michigan State and Indiana are both in free fall right now.
Yeah.
They are those bubbles are starting to get kind of heavy. And those were 2 locks in the tournament a month ago.
I still think Michigan State's in. I think they might be barely on the bubble now, but I mean, they'd have to really do something wrong to miss the tournament.
They'll get in as probably a 9 or 10. And if it gets real bad, they'll probably be playing. They were playing game last year.
Yeah.
They got beat by UCLA. That team's not very good. I mean, I could easily see them in that playing game. So, but conference tournament season's coming up, boys. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait. You got the Big Ten. Gonna be a really good conference tournament. Big East is gonna be Gus Johnson on the call. It's gonna be in Madison Square Garden. I mean, my goodness. And what's fun about the Big East is, and then we'll move on. Those crowds at the Big East games every night. It's a madhouse in some of those arenas. Providence, Seton Hall, Villanova, they pack out those gyms.
Let me tell y'all something. This is all great, but none of it's going to matter because the winner of the NCAA this year is not coming out of any of those conferences.
I think you're right.
I've been saying it for weeks. Gonzaga, however you want to pronounce it, Xavier, Marquette, whatever.
No, nobody says that.
Yeah.
Gonzaga is going to run through the tournament. In fact, I think the only team that even stands a chance to beat them is Kentucky.
I do like that Kentucky team. I hate that because I can't stank in the University of Kentucky, but that team's complete. But
Gonzaga, they were there last year. There's something about teams, like solid teams, that go and taste it but lose, that they come back more refined the next season, and they already have the experience. They don't get jitters. And Gonzaga is the only team that I have seen where I'm like, they've got it just put together.
But Gonzaga,
I watch all these other teams. I watch Texas. I watch Auburn.
That's not a good
Purdue.
comparison.
Huh? No. Hey, just hear me out. I watch all these other teams, and it's like they have Achilles heels. They're not. You can just tell. You can tell when someone is solid.
You're 1,000% right.
Because they do the things that they're supposed to do really well. And there's a lot of teams where it's like, hey, you should not be turning the ball over to this squad of junior high boys 12 times a game, but you are. Right? But Gonzaga doesn't do that. Like, they come into Provo, into the Marriott Center. They're a 13-point favorite to BYU, and they beat them by 40. They do what they're supposed to do. And teams that do what they're supposed to do and do it well, those are the teams to look out for.
But yeah,
it's going to be a matchup thing with Gonzaga because, I mean, no disrespect to their conference, but they don't play tough basketball teams. There's some talent out there, but they don't get punched in the mouth. They don't get punched in the mouth. And so if the worst matchup, in my opinion, for them is going to be Arizona. Arizona plays hard and they are big. Drew Timme can't get punched in the mouth.
Or Texas Tech.
Yes, that is. Yes, I was thinking about that this week.
If Gonzaga gets matched up with Texas Tech in the Elite Eight or Final Four, or however it could happen, I think that's a team that could beat Gonzaga. After that, maybe Houston. I feel like Houston could beat Gonzaga. I think Houston's got a real good chance to go all the way, dude. I said it last year. I'll say it again this year. I think they got some dogs down there. Like, you can just watch some boys when they play dog ball. Like, those are some dogs in the Houston Cougars, man. Like, and that's what I love to watch. I think Gonzaga, like I said, they're a machine. Auburn, I said it for weeks. They've been getting away with silly wins on the road by a point. They finally lost. I think they're getting shown for what they really are. And when they get out, I'm telling you right now, if Auburn gets matched up against a Big East team second round, they're done. It's over. Like, Providence will throw them out of the tournament. Seton Hall could throw them out of the tournament. Like Villanova could throw them out of the tournament easy. I don't think Auburn's really. I think they were on the right side of the bell curve in those 50-50 ball games, and I think really the Final Four. I'm calling it now. I mean, granted, the bracket matches up correctly, but I like Zag. I like Texas Tech. I like Arizona, and I like Houston.
I
That's my
love that
Final
Arizona
Four.
team. I got a couple thoughts, Yagan. I want to compliment you first because you made that point on a pod a couple weeks ago about how Auburn has been really bad on the road, but they've been just kind of squeaking by. And I heard somebody else mention that on a pod I was listening to the other day about how Auburn beat Georgia by 2 on the road. They beat Missouri by 4. They lost to this team. They beat St. Louis by 3 on the road. So that is a good point. Auburn on the road is they've been getting by, and the wins are what matter, but they do not have a great resume when they get away from their arena. My thought on Gonzaga is Gonzaga has all the pieces. I don't care about any matchups. Gonzaga's big. They can shoot. They're well coached. They do everything great. They got NBA talent, but Gonzaga cannot win the big game. They can't do it.
That's terrible.
They can't do it.
That is
it's been like that for years. They got beat by
That's
Baylor
the worst take. That's the most easy Monday morning take you've ever had in your entire life. They can't win the big game.
They can't. Look at it. They lost North Carolina in that championship 5 or 6 years ago. They lost to Baylor. Gonzaga always beats Gonzaga in the tournament. They do it every year. How many years has Gonzaga been a 1 seed in this tournament? The last 10 years, they've been at.
It seems like
but
they
can't
here's
get
the
it
deal.
done.
And last year was their best team they will ever have.
Yeah, okay.
Baylor ran them off the floor.
Here's the deal. But that Baylor team doesn't exist this year. There's not another team that's elite. And I think if Gonzaga can control a game enough to play the way they want, they're the best team in the country. But what I said earlier about getting punched in the mouth, what I really meant was somebody knocking them off their game, right? Making Drew Timme uncomfortable, breaking Chet Holmgren in half. I mean, he's this big. So if they play against a team that's physical and doesn't let Gonzaga play the way they want, that's how they'll get beat. But if they get to play the game that they want, they're the best team in the country, I think.
I'm just telling y'all, I will never buy Gonzaga. I will never pick Gonzaga to win my March Madness bracket because until they finally win one, I'll start to believe in Gonzaga basketball in March. But until then,
Cam,
I won't do it.
That's fine.
I refuse.
Yeah, I am on the train of like winners win. So until like it's the whole thing, the same thing with the Cowboys. Every year I got to hear about their 12-1 chances to win the Super Bowl.
Why are you hating on the Cowboys right now?
I hate the Cowboys. So
it's not even football season.
I hate the Cowboys. So anyway, but like I said, Gonzaga it's just a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
I watch all these other teams, and it's like they're playing. Sometimes I'm like, man, they're playing junior high ball where it's chuck it up, go try and beat up somebody to get the rebound, and then brick a layup, hit the bottom of the rim, type of thing. I'm like, sweet heavens. There are some moments in the game where I'm like, man, I could have at least made a layup or a jump shot. But Gonzaga, I'm telling you, man, it is A plus B equals C. It's nice. It's fun to watch.
What are they, plus 500 to win the national championship?
That's crazy odds in March Madness. Crazy low odds.
Yeah.
I like that Texas Tech a lot while we're talking about March Madness predictions. They do. Their defense is unbelievable.
They're physical. My goodness, they're physical.
Dude, and I'm telling you that in March Madness, when there's no home
that
team,
travels.
when it's on defense travels in March Madness.
And it's not just defense; they're physical on offense too.
Yeah,
they don't rely. I mean, no offense, Cut. I don't want you to catch a stray here. They're not Alabama. They don't rely on the three. Yeah. They are so physical, and they have so many guys that can just get down and dirty and put the ball in the basket. And they're dangerous. I think they're plus 3,000 to win it all. Last I looked, and that's smart money.
Hunter, we watched that Texas Tech Tennessee game earlier in the year, and we were like, it was the most disgusting game ever. Yeah. But those are two really, really good defensive teams. Yeah. Tennessee just sucks offensively. Tech's got the offense.
Yeah.
And it was just a weird matchup because both those teams are really strong defensively. Mm-hmm. I think Tech's got the best defense in college basketball.
Yeah. I don't know what the numbers say, but that's the team I would not want to play against the most.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
They're going to be dangerous in the tournament.
Dude, look, I'll tell you this. There was this team. Tech reminds me. This whole thing reminds me exactly. So I play intramural football every season or every semester here at college. Not that that is any comparison or that I'm like, hey, I'm a freaking athlete among boys, right? But as far as the principle goes, there was like this one team we played during the regular season that we barely beat 19-17. I mean, it was a gritty game. And this team, they like kept losing gritty games to everyone. In fact, when it got to the postseason, they let everyone, in the tournament for the intramural season, this team was like one of the bottom seeds because they just lost so many close games. But I kept telling my buddies, I was like, dude, that team is someone you do not want to have to play. And they ended up winning the whole league. They ended up running through the playoffs because just I'm telling you, the grit, the hard nose, just get down with it, dude. That travels.
Grit matters.
Bro, there are people
Grit.
that they let their seat, like they let the seeding or however they get in the tournament, they let that get to their heads. Like they say, we're a 1 seed, we're supposed to do this, blah, blah, blah. And what people forget is once that tournament starts, everyone is 0-0. It does not matter what you did in the regular season. I mean, Virginia in that 16 seed just a few years ago, 0-0. Everyone starts 0-0. And what do I always say? It's bad to play against a team that's got nothing to lose.
That's what makes March Madness the best event out there.
Yes. And I'm telling you, Tech passed maybe the first round. Texas Tech passed the first, maybe the second round. As soon as they win that round of 64, no one's giving them a chance, right? They're like, okay, like they could be 50-50 every week, blah, blah, blah. But you've got all these other guys and Tech's gonna there. I'm telling you, that is a dangerous team to have to play.
Yeah, that's not a team people are going to want to play. I mean, they're just so physical. They're really talented ball club.
Whichever wing of the bracket Texas Tech gets put in, the other 15 teams in that wing of the bracket,
watch out,
are going to just roll their eyes and take a deep breath and get prepared. Let me tell you, no, seriously.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. All right, so we got to move on. Anybody got any last thoughts on March Madness? Well, I mean, we'll be hammering this every week until we get to the tournament time. Just a few more weeks, boys. It's that time of the year. So I want to move on. I want to do Cuds. Who the hell are you this week? And then we'll get into some NBA talk. So Cud, who you got?
Okay, this week, who the hell are you is the entire dunk contest in the NBA.
Oh,
usually every year the dunk contest is an exciting deal. Everyone's watching, what is he going to do with the ball? Was he going to flip or is he going to do behind the back and all this crazy stuff? And this year it was terrible. They couldn't even make any dunks. And then I think you get 3 chances before you get 0. And then basically whenever they made one, it was just like, oh, well, I have to make a dunk. So then they just kind of did some casual deal. There was nothing, no excitement, no oh, I've never seen that before. It was just such a letdown. Even that, all the NBA legends were like, what was that? I mean, they were saying the 3-point contest was more exciting. And all those guys do is literally just pick up a ball off the rack and shoot. I mean, there's no excitement to that other than how many they end up making. So I thought this year it was just such a letdown because that's usually one of the best events. Honestly, I like that event more than the game itself. That was just a disgrace.
That's an excellent segue into what I want to talk about, Cud. Excellent segue. So this week's Who the Hell Are You? The dunk contest participants. And so growing up, the dunk contest was the thing that I looked forward to the most NBA All-Star Weekend. Yeah. Back in the day when everybody used to do it, like Dwight Howard, Nate Robinson and their battles, those were awesome. And then we got the really good dunk contest in 2016 with Levine and Aaron Gordon. That was the best dunk contest I've ever seen. And now it just seems like nobody wants to do it. And I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
It's hard because they've been doing the dunk contest for 40 years. I mean, you're going to run out of dunks. Like you got to get really, really creative these days. And what sucks is the guys we're getting Obi Toppin, and he's a second-year guy. Jalen Green's a rookie. You got a bunch of rookies and 9-10-man guys in the rotation, all freak athletes. But it's just, I don't know. It's just there's no superstars that want to do it anymore. And I watched the dunk contest, and the whole time Reggie Miller and Kenny Smith were like, man, we got to put the 3-point contest last because this is terrible, like you said, Cut. And they're just ripping them on air.
Yeah.
And it was horrible to watch. It really was. I felt really bad for those guys because it was tough. The crowd was dead and it sucked. So, I mean, if you're the NBA, Cud, do you do that? Do you put the 3-point contest last? Do you get rid of the dunk contest? And what do you do?
No, I mean, I think even though how bad it was this year, I think that'd be a stretch.
That'd be
Get rid of it.
No, I think they should definitely keep it,
Get
but
rid of the dunk contest.
no
shot.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that is a big issue though with guys actually wanting to do it. You know, like there's honestly across the board, they're all insane athletes. They can all jump out of the gym and I'll do all sorts of stuff with the ball. But for some reason, the guys, like the main guys, don't want to do it.
They don't want to do it. They have no desire.
I don't understand why, honestly, in my opinion. I mean, I think it'd be cool to be the dunk champ, especially like imagine, like that year when Aaron Gordon and Levine were doing it.
That was unreal.
Like there was just a battle back and forth, and like if you won the championship, the dunk championship, and you'd be like, and people look back and be like, oh, he beat X and X, and those every round was 50, like
crazy.
I think that'd be cool, but yeah, I think it's definitely a problem for getting like the big name guys to actually do it. Like you said, the guys that did this year, they were like their 8th, 9th guys on the team. I mean,
average NBA fan would know one player that was in the dunk contest.
No.
But I mean, imagine a dunk contest with John Morant, Zion, Giannis, and then it would be insane.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be unreal.
But nobody wants to do it. So Hunter, I want to ask you this. I know you're not the biggest NBA guy in the world. I personally think the NBA has the best All-Star weekend. This weekend was super letdown. So what sport has the best All-Star weekend? American sport.
The whole weekend, I'd agree with you, the NBA.
See, MLB does the same. It's kind of a weekend deal.
Yeah, that's true, though. I mean, no, I changed my answer. I'm going to go on MLB because the home run derby is the best of the exhibition things. The home run derby is better than the slam dunk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I used to like the dunk.
Absolutely.
The home run derby is must-see
is
TV.
Awesome.
And then I prefer, I don't know.
You get all those 10-year-olds in the outfield running around trying to catch the balls.
That's your favorite part of the home run derby, the not home runs?
No, listen, I'm hoping I mean, I know this sounds bad, but what if a 10-year-old misses a catch? It just domes
They
him.
don't catch that on camera, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be hilarious.
You're a terrible person.
I just think it'd be funny.
Oh,
can't let me scarred for life.
I mean, yeah, but
you would get some enjoyment out of it.
He also got to catch fly balls in the home run derby. Like
that's true.
You gotta take the good with the bad.
No, I think to answer your question, I think the weekend itself, MLB, but I do really like the NBA though. It's not. Let me rephrase. I really like the NBA All-Star Weekend because the skills competition has always been good. They still do that, right?
Yeah. You got Friday night.
I'm the average sports fan that you were talking about wouldn't know anybody in the dunk contest. That's me.
I don't think you would know any 4 of those players that was in the dunk contest.
Obi Toppin, Dayton, right?
That's right, Dayton.
That's
legend.
right. Yeah.
Hey.
But anyways, I prefer MLB's All-Star Weekend, but I think I like the NBA All-Star Game the best. I really enjoy the All-Star Game.
I do too. People wear it out for no defense, but it's a show. Like
that's all it is.
And the Pro Bowl looks bad because football is a contact sport.
Mm-hmm.
But basketball kind of is, but not as much as football. So
yeah,
go ahead. Yeah,
I have a solution. Well, like just like I was talking about with the Pro Bowl, you turn it into a 7-on-7 tournament. I'm thinking about if it were up to me, what do I think a lot of people would be excited to watch when it comes to the NBA All-Star Weekend? Number one is the NBA All-Star Game. Number one is the NBA All-Star Game, right? Number two is I think you should have a one-on-one tournament. I think you take 4 guys from the East, 4 guys from the West, and you have, so it's, the winners are playing 3 total games. You go by 1 and 2 to like 7 in the final and 5 in the first 2 rounds. I would love to watch NBA players play for some pride of being able to one-on-one beat their other guys. The other things I think would be fun to watch, instead of the dunk contest, the skill position, the skills challenge, the freaking 3-point contest. Dude, how about like Ice Cube's 3v3 league? Like get one of those games in there with the 4-point circle. Like, dude, I would love to watch that during NBA All-Star weekend instead of the celebrity game. Half the celebrities have never seen a basketball in their life before when I watch them play. Like, and then what was that? The 3v. Oh, dude, street ball. They should let the professor come in. They should let like all those dudes from old like 07, 08 street ball. Dude, how fun would it be to watch street ball 5-on-5? Oh my, like throwing the ball off people's heads back to them, this and that. Dude, I loved watching street ball. And I think people would love watching street ball too. It's just like the whole point of All-Star, the whole point of we're getting all these crazy talents together is to do something that the everyday person cannot do, right? And I don't mean any disrespect to the dunk contest, but 90% of NBA players could do the dunks that the dunk contest is doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's at this point, I watch the dunk contest and I'm like, okay, who has the best introduction to their dunk? That's who's going to get the highest score,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you need to street ball 3v3 1-on-1 contest, NBA All-Star game. That I would block out my entire weekend's plans to watch that.
I tell you what I'd like to see is pickup basketball style. Maybe fan voting determines like 4 captains or 8 captains or however many. Yeah, 8. Let's do 8 because we're the 24 All-Stars.
Yeah.
So 8 captains, and they walk out on the court and they say, I want you and you. And they do a 3v3 tournament, just straight up pick them. Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think that'd be a lot of fun to watch.
Like Rutgers Park, dude.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You're still not going to get much effort, though, because nobody wants to get hurt.
I'm not saying you'd get effort, but it'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
You don't need to go out there and like give it 110%. But what I'm saying is you go out with like the 1v1, like the 1-on-1 contest or whatever, and you say, hey, winner of this, I don't know, gets a plaque or something, like obviously their pride's going to kick in. But
it always does at the end of the All-Star game because these guys start tuning it up.
The 1-on-1 would be interesting because there are some guys, especially at the top end of the league, like who does you think James Harden would want to lose to Kevin Durant right now?
Nobody's beating
those
Kevin
two
Durant
are playing
one-on-one.
No, but if those two are going against each other 1-on-1, there will be effort.
Yeah,
there will be effort.
Not only that, but what about a Kyrie Russell Westbrook or like a Russell Westbrook Damian Lillard 1-on-1 final?
Or
think of all the debates that people have about, well, this person's better than this person, this person better than this person.
Think about it, bro. You get Kyrie, Westbrook, Damian Lillard, LeBron, KD, you get Steph, you get Chris Paul, you get Devin Booker, you could even have Luka Doncic as a great 1-on-1 player.
Luka, especially Luka. My goodness.
Y'all know I'm not a big Kyrie guy, but Kyrie 1-on-1 would be unstoppable. He would be a ridiculous one.
Well, let's do that. Who would be the best 1-on-1 player in the league?
Kevin Durant.
Not Russell Westbrook.
Not Russell Westbrook. Also an acceptable answer, Cut.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant.
That would be interesting. Kevin Durant.
Oh my God, bro. Have you ever just sat back and watched a Nets game when KD's playing and like?
No, he doesn't ever play.
Yeah, exactly.
And like James, dude, there was like that stretch where he was healthy, and I remember watching both the
that
Nets
one
games.
stretch.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I don't mean any disrespect to Kevin at all. I think he's the best player in the league right now. Dude, I would sit back and watch him get double teamed, go up and over people, 10-foot jump shots, and he would make them. And I'm talking not just like, this is not middle of the second quarter. I'm talking game on the line. They need to keep momentum rolling with 3 minutes left in the fourth. Just go get a bucket. I was like, dude, why do they not let KD shoot every single possession? Like every single possession. If I was on a
Ben
team,
Simmons is good. More shots to go around now that Harden's off the team.
Yeah.
If Ben Simmons play. So we're kind of going off the rails. So I want to kind of we'll tie
I
it
love
back to the NBA back half of the season. So there's only 23-ish games left in the NBA season, and then it's playoff time.
Last quarter.
Hey, how about LeBron hitting that fadeaway jumper to win?
That was an impressive shot.
Don't hear any of y'all talking about that.
That was again,
The,
not a
the
LeBron
GOAT,
guy, but that was an
LeBron, the
impressive
GOAT,
shot.
the best ever.
Hey,
Better
I have a
than
question.
MJ. Have it on record on the Zoom call. Better than Michael Jordan.
Go ahead, Hunter. That's nonsense. Yeah.
That's a terrible take.
No, it is not nonsense. LeBron is the greatest basketball player of all time.
Can we mute him? Anybody know how to do that?
I wish you had the button to do so, but go ahead, Hunter.
All right. So just real quick, I don't want to take up too much time, but I was reading an article today on ESPN proposing doing I don't know what they call it, but that ending to the All-Star game, but in normal NBA games, to where it gets to a point in the game, and instead of playing to the end of the clock, they say, all right, we're playing to 163 like it was in the All-Star, whatever the score is. And that does away with the fouling at the end of the game and, calling a timeout to try and get the ball moved up the court, and just the slog that the last minute and a half of basketball games tend to be. Playing to a certain score gets rid of that. Would y'all be on board with seeing that?
No.
I mean, I think it's cool for the All-Star game, and I agree, Hunter. I do kind of like it, but yeah, I don't know if I'd want to change.
I'd like to see it in like the G League or something for a season, and just to see what the players think of it. See what I mean. Obviously, nobody watches the G League, but I think that'd be interesting to see, because I mean, it works in pickup basketball, and I think it would. It'd be almost like baseball. If you just stop them from scoring, you're never out of it. All you have to do is just keep them from scoring, and you can come back. You're not against the clock. So I don't know. I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean that is a fair point. I mean, I like the way they do it, the All-Star game. I think it's kind of cool because that's how we grew up playing basketball. We're playing to 40 right here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, there's no time.
Bob, we could never score 40. Are you kidding me?
That's true. That's why we let Trent and Cash and all those other guys take control. We just spot up shooters.
We're in the
So
corner.
I want to get into a little bit more NBA talk, and then we'll close it up. We're going to the back half of the season. Big NBA news, and I'll let you start touching on this. Best team in the NBA, Phoenix Suns. Chris Paul's out for 6 to 8 weeks.
What happened?
He hurt his thumb in their last game of the season against the Rockets. That's a big blow for the Suns. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's big time.
So
Chris
Devin
Paul,
Booker's a great player.
He's been the get over the hump guy for them ever since he went there.
As soon as he got to Phoenix, they turned everything around, and now they're if not they're one of, if not the best team in the NBA, and they have the best record right now. So
and he's played in every game this season.
Exactly. So Cutter, the Suns in trouble. Like, are we going to see them free fall to a 4 seed, or are they going to hang on until he gets back?
No, I'd say it's a stretch to say they're going to free fall, but it's going to more weight's going to go on Booker and Ayton for sure.
Yeah, they got to step up.
And Crowder and those guys, those 3 and 4 guys, have got to pick up. And Cameron Payne is good off the bench. He's fit their system good, but he ain't a nickel of Chris Paul. So I don't know as far as the point guard will go. Maybe they'll let D-Book take it up the floor. I don't know, but yeah, that's a big blow, because not only Chris Paul, he can shoot the 3, take you to the rim, shoot the fadeaway, and he's a great passer. So yeah, that's a big blow to them. And time wise, would that make him be back by?
He'll be back by playoff.
Yeah, first round. He should be. So but they're also in a good position to where it's not like they have to win a bunch of games down this stretch where he's out. Right. They're sitting comfortable. It's not like they're on the bubble, the 6th seed or something like that. So I think they'll be just fine.
So Yag, I got cut on the Suns. Yag, I want to ask you before we wrap things up, any NBA team back half of the season people need to look out for? We've had the surprise of the Grizzlies and the Cavs this year, who have massively overachieved so far. Celtics are kind of come on. Warriors have put it back together. So any teams that no one's really paying attention to finish up the season this year to watch out for in the playoffs?
I mean, right off the top of my head, I would say the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, they're solid.
Like, what are they, the 3 seed in the East?
No one saw that coming.
Yeah, if you had told people, hey, before the season, if you told people, hey, the Cavs are going to go 22-60 this season, people would have been like, yeah, that sounds about right. I think for whatever reason, the Cavs have figured something out.
Yep.
Like, you don't just win this amount of games by just pure dumb luck or just playing really hard defense during the regular season when no one else does. Like, the Cavs, they like go on the road and beat competent teams by 10, by 15, like impressive wins. I think the Cavs
And
are a team.
they're doing all that without Colin Sexton, who they lost to an
Yeah.
ACL, which is even crazier.
Right. And like, not only that, but you get to the playoffs, it's the first to 4. And I'm not counting out the Cavaliers. You may be able to beat them one night, maybe 2, but you have to beat them 4 times. And I don't know if there are a lot of teams in the East that can just do that just because they want to.
They
You
got
know, like it's gonna be some tough nosed, like hard series against the Cavaliers in the playoffs.
The East has come a long way too. The East, it's not
Yeah.
the East of 6 years ago. They got out there. It's a deep conference, man.
Yeah.
Miami, Milwaukee, the Cavs, Bulls, Celtics. It's deep.
Oh, yeah.
Any of those teams can win that conference. It's not like it's not LeBron and everybody else anymore. And then
Oh,
LeBron
no.
in Atlanta or however it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
So it's
You
gonna
know
be
who
really
I-
interesting to see the
You know who I
NBA this year.
pray plays each other? I pray the Knicks and the Hawks get another series in the postseason.
The Knicks are not
bro.
making the playoffs. They're a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they're
know,
terrible.
but
They don't deserve a breath of my air. They're terrible.
I know, but it was just so fun watching that, dude.
That was a great series last year. When Trey Young silencing that crowd in MSG last year.
Yes.
What
Oh
about
my
a
God.
what about a Sixers Nets series?
Oh, that's very likely to happen.
Hopefully that does happen. Yeah.
That would be, I mean, the soap opera that the NBA is, it does produce some really nice storylines.
It definitely does. Yeah, I could definitely see Sixers Nets Eastern Conference semifinal series. That would be really,
Lovely.
really fun to watch. And the Nets just signed Goran Dragic, so they just got even deeper in their rotation. Any closing thoughts, boys, before we close out another 903 Sports Pod? I'm glad we're keeping it rolling.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we'll touch a little more basketball.
LeBron's better than Michael Jordan.
That's
Closing
such a
thought.
bad take.
Such a terrible take. We're going to end on that terrible note,
Why?
everyone.
How about next week we start with that, and I show you just why he is.
We're
better
not
than
getting
Michael
into
Jordan.
the Skip Bayless debates. 903 Sports is better than 98.
Not in the middle of
But
March
there
Madness,
are-
maybe in June.
Yeah. In June, when there's nothing to talk about, we might get into it.
All right, whatever.
But thanks everybody for listening. Another episode of 903 Sports Pod. We'll catch y'all next time. Thanks everybody.